Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 10254, the Winter Holiday Train. Contains 734 pieces and retailed for $99.99, which, not the best price per piece ratio, but you gotta consider that it does include a lot of these, which are large parts, and typically relatively expensive on their own, so that accounts for most of it. This was the 2016, Winter Village set for the year, and was kind of a re-release because they did a holiday train once before, but this one is completely different, so, still would work alongside the other one. But, enough about that. Let's take a closer look at the actual builds. Aside from the train, we get this one little train platform, which is designed to just, be attached onto any one of the two stud ties of the railroad track parts. So, just fits right on like that, and it'll fit right around the, the loop that you can make with the parts in the set. And it's just a bench, really. You got room for someone to sit down. You could fit two figures as long as you place the figures on the outside studs of the bench. The bench can recline to any angle. It's not a click hinge one either, so, that works well. And the platform is raised off the ground, which is, good, looks okay. We got a little snow on this side, and a little step to get up, which I think is, a respectable level of detail, and this little lamp is kind of cute, and I like the wreath that comes off of it, but this is just a little side build, and doesn't really, make for a full station, so it feels a little bit lacking in that regard, but when you pair this with the Winter Village station, which I'm not going to do in this video because I don't own the station yet, but I'll make sure to show the train in that video when I eventually get it. But, if you have that, then, this works as kind of a minimalistic other stop. Now for the rest of the review, or for the next little section, we're going to take a look at each of the train cars individually. So we're going to separate off the gift car and the caboose, and just take a look at the actual engine of the train. And I think the engine is pretty good looking overall. It's a good size, because I think if it were a whole lot bigger, then it'd just kind of get a little bit out of hand. I think that this is a nice size that works with the scale of the Winter Village sets. Obviously, it's a little bit smaller than a minifigure scale train engine would be, but, I do think it works. It's got the steam coming out the top, which I think is a good build and works well. It's got a bell up here, which is clipped onto one of these trailer ball joint hitch pieces, which I don't think I've seen anything clipped to that before. So just a little interesting side note, I guess. And from the side, it looks good. This piece right there, the piece that attaches to the train and allows the front to swivel, I forget what it's called, a bogie maybe, I think, or maybe that's this, I'm not sure, but that piece in bright red is new, and these wheels have only appeared on the Toy Story train, which is the only other train set I've ever owned, so, I already have them, but, yeah. This piece on the front is a typical train piece, but it works well, and just a front view of the train. Looks really nice. It does, for the most part, stick to its 6-stud wide profile, with only small sections sticking out. The other side is obviously exactly the same, mirrored. I got wreaths on the side, and you have a little bit of detailing inside the cab. We'll take a look at that in a second. But first, we've got the trailer. This is designed so you can remove the back section here relatively easily. You can just take all that out. That's only on the two studs. That's so that you can attach a battery box for power functions with relative ease. Obviously, it's not really designed to just be able to take that out for no reason, because that wouldn't make any sense. But it does. Whoops, I put that on upside down. I think. Actually, I didn't. I lied. I did it right the first time and doubted myself. Never doubt yourself, I guess, is the lesson today. But that is just attached with an axle, so not as securely as the other ones. If you were to, pick this up off the ground from this point, the rest would come up. If you did it with any of the other ones, they would kind of stay attached because magnets. So just keep that in mind. and this does also, because of that, swivel a little bit differently. But I like the white leaves on the sides. This paneling design works well. Overall, good design for that. And inside of the actual engine, you can see there is a control panel printed there. There are really no windows, so you can't see forward. That's a little weird. And the Technic parts show through here, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you know, if you can stand a figure in there, and if you do that, it kind of, whoops, he's not really standing right. There, you can get your figure in there, and that kind of blocks most of it, so it's not awful, but could again be a little bit better. And the green section goes in the front. Yay, I did it. I didn't want to put that on wrong and have everyone complain about me, or complain to me about that in the comment section down below. But that is the design for the train's engine. Also, because of this not just magneting on, it is a little bit harder to get the wheels into the tracks. Next up, we've got the fun car, and this is the one with all the toys in there. There's this basket in the back half that has a bunch of toys in it, and we're going to take a look at those right after this little section here. But without those, the back half of this is kind of plain, but there is a really nicely detailed Christmas tree, and this Christmas tree has a train going around the bottom. And the cool part about that is as you move the wheels back and forth, the tree will spin around. So if you just keep turning that, it'll turn all the way around eventually. You can't really just spin it on its own. You'd have to completely disengage the gear, because it is a worm gear, so you do have to, you know, turn this all the way. But I think that that's alright, because I think it is a really cool feature when you're riding around. If you make the train go really fast, though, the tree will start to go really fast, which can get a little bit out of hand with a motor, but for, you know, normal manual just pushing the train around speeds, I think it works well, and it is pretty much the same on both sides. So you know, it's cool though. I do like the design of this thing quite a bit. I think it's pretty neat. Here we have the contents of that toy basket. There are 3 presents here, which are just, you know, pretty simple, relatively standard Winter Village builds at this point, but they all, you know, look okay. And it's nice to just have more boxes to put in there to make it look like there's more stuff. This robot build is kind of cool. I like how it uses the Technic 1 or the Technic 2 long panels that are half length as tracks, and you got that printed 1x1 tile there. So you know, looks good as a robot. I wish the head could turn though, but that's not possible because of how the thing is built. This sailboat is pretty convincing as a sailboat with a minimal amount of parts. I mean, not a whole lot to say about it. Relatively simple. This car is also super simple, but super duper convincing. Maybe this is just a little bit too big, you know. But you'd wind it up, and then once it's wound up, you'd let go, and it would, you know, drive forward. That's what this toy is supposed to be. I like the use of the roller skates as wheels, and it works really well with the jumper plate because you can actually like center it, which is cool. This Blacktron inspired spaceship is also neat. Makes a nice toy. You can swoosh it around. Yeah, also pretty good. And it uses the new 2x2 corner, or the 2x2 wedge plates. And this fire truck also looks really awesome. Really, really nice for a super micro scale fire truck. It's got the red and yellow color scheme. It's even got the light on the top. The ladder can extend, and it's got the, you know, actual wheels. And you'll notice that they did have to make the wheels face forward because it doesn't work the other way because of the tubes in the bricks, or in the plates. So, you know, just interesting to note that, or the differences between using roller skates with a plate and a jumper plate. But I think that all these toys are cute, and they add a little bit of playability to the set on the whole. The caboose is also a decent looking build. I feel like the roof might extend a little bit too far, but you know, it works. You can stand a figure here, as you can see in the back, but you can also remove them and close up the doors. I think that this is a nice choice for doors. Not very practical in the cold weather, but it's, you know, good looking, I think, and that's mostly what matters, because, you know, they're wearing jackets. That's okay. They've got some lanterns on the front and back. It does make it a little bit hard to put a figure there with the lantern. You kind of have to lift it up, which can look a little weird, but, you know, I mean, it's alright, for the most part. I like the design on the side. I think that it looks festive, like the white leaf piece design. It's also got the little ladders on the side, which I don't know if I pointed that out on the other section. The roof has a little raised section in the center when you can actually see through it, so that's cool. But it doesn't let any light down below because, you know, the whole bottom is plates. As far as the actual interior goes, it's really small. There are 2 chairs though, so you can fit 2 figures. And there's a little lamp, which is a nice little build, and a cup. So, you know, I mean, it works. With the kid, it's a little weird because she has to stand in the chair, but that's really what it's designed for. So a little bit strange in certain ways, especially the size, and that the caboose is the only passenger section. So it feels like it could have, you know, used maybe making this a little bit longer. I think if they went with maybe just 4 extra studs, they could squeeze in another table, I think, and then it would just have a little bit more practicality. But, you know, for what it is, and especially for an outside, you know, just train display, I think that this works. The first 2 figures are the 2 little kids, and her torso, relatively common, even among the Winter Village theme. His torso is an Arctic exploration torso, as you can see from the back print. It's got the logo there. But I like how they reused it here. I think it works really well, and even just makes a good jacket. Their faces, you know, are relatively standard faces. She does not have the one that has the back print, even though there's one that's pretty similar to this that does. His hair is a nice piece, not super common. It's the same as Luke Skywalker's from A New Hope. And again, no back print on his face. And this is in a different color, by the way. He also has a remote for his little, well, I guess any of his little toys. One of them must be remote controlled. So, you know, they're good figures. Nothing special about them, but I do personally like the inclusion of the Arctic torso because I don't have any of that. And I guess this hair is actually a pretty nice piece to get as well. The 2 train workers are good. This one over here, the engineer, has a relatively standard torso that we've seen a lot. I'm not even going to bother taking the scarf off. And he also has the Bricks for Chris face. No back print on there. And this guy over here has a good face, nice and grumpy old face. He's the conductor. His hat is nice in this color, and I like how it matches his pants. His torso is also pretty cool. He's got the pocket watch. I think this really works for a train conductor. And he's got the dark red tie too. They did a good job with matching colors of existing pieces for this guy, making it work really well. And he does have a little bit of back printing, so, you know, they're good figures, and he gets a shovel as an accessory. I think overall, though, this is the best of the 5 figures. This is the grandma, and, you know, she's nothing special at first glance, but her hairpiece is relatively uncommon, having only appeared in 4 sets total, 3 others. One was a pretty big friend set, and her face actually has 2 sides. She's got a sleeping side to her face. This headpiece is the least common of all the headpieces in this set. She can fall asleep. So, you know, that's also cool. You don't see too many female sleeping faces. And her torso is actually the rarest minifigure part in this entire set, and one of the rarest pieces in the set overall. This is actually the Penguin's torso from that Scuba Batman set. Nice to get this reprinted. Because it's not very penguin specific. Like, it looks like the penguin, but it also just looks like a really nice fur coat, which is what this lady uses it as. And I'm really glad that they were able to take that presumably licensed piece and just introduce it into this non-licensed set. I think that that's cool, and adds another, you know, cool part to your Winter Village, even if you don't, like, collect any superhero sets at all. So cool. This is the full loop of track. And, you know, the train can go all the way around if it's actually on the track. It's kind of just weird the way I have to keep the camera here. Makes it difficult for me to push this all the way around. But it's possible. If you're... Oh, there we go. That's what I was talking about, how this doesn't want to stay on the tracks. But basically, this is what you get here. And I think that overall, it is a good sized loop of track for, you know, this whole play thing you got there. And it works. I think that overall, it is a cool set. It definitely feels more like it's worth the price once you have the whole track built up. And again, I apologize for the really awful camera work here, but you know, this has to fit on my floor, and the only way I can film that is on a really wobbly chair. So, yeah, that's my excuse for this bad camera work here. But the actual set overall, I think, is good. Could use maybe one more car or a little bit more on one of the cars. But overall, I think it's good, especially when you add in the station, which again I don't have yet. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and didn't get sick from the super shaky camera here. But anyway, see you guys all later. Bye everyone.